Cameron, you're covering a real quarterback competition. Like, there's so many fake ones out there. What is it like to actually watch two different people get reps with the ones?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I mean, it gives you something to watch every day in spring practice. You know, as you guys know, spring practice can be kind of boring sometimes, but when you have a true quarterback competition, it truly is like watching every single rep to see how things go. So it's been fun to watch for sure.
Ari, this is what I love about Cam's coverage, though. Like, you read his stuff in The Athletic, he understands what his readers actually want, because when you read a Cam story from spring practice this year, there will be a Devin Brown and Kyle McCord update somewhere in it.
Yeah.
I didn't put one in like one of my most recent stories, and there were like 3 comments about like, what are we going to do about quarterbacks? And I was like, well, I figure everything has to be in there now.
Oh, so every time.
From your perspective of like just watching them, like what's your takeaway from it? You know,
it's hard. I think they're pretty even. Yeah, it's tough. I don't think either of them really stood out Saturday. So Saturday was kind of I think it was a rough day overall for the offense. I mean, the defensive line was just so dominant the whole day. But I mean, I think Kyle McCord might be the better option right now. I mean, I think he's had some really good days when I was out there 2 Saturdays ago. I thought he was definitely the better of the 2 that day, especially in the second half of practice. I mean, he made some really nice throws. He can move a little bit. I know Devin Brown is kind of the athletic guy of the 2, but I think Kyle can move a little bit as well when he needs to. So, I mean, Devin's athleticism is really interesting as well. So it's just, they both do things well. And I think they're pretty even. I think this may go. I know Ryan Day said he wants to have it done by the end of the spring. It's probably going right up to the spring game if that's the case then.
I mean, I guess you don't really have a choice but to hold out as long as possible when it comes to the transfer situation. But I was just like, I had a theory last year, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I just feel like as college football progresses, that you just can't win a national championship without somebody who could move a little bit. And like somebody might point out that, hey, CJ Stroud was basically a statue for the most of his career back there. And then like all of a sudden he was moving around. I know. He figured out how to run in the Peach Bowl, and all of a sudden their offense, opened up in a way that I don't know that they played better at any given point than they played in that game during his career. So like, to me, it's like I always thought that like Devin Brown would win the battle just because he can move.
Yeah, it's hard because defensive linemen are so athletic now. So you have to have a quarterback who can get away from them too. I agree. I think Devin Brown is really, really athletic. But I don't know. I just thought Kyle can move when he needs to, if that makes sense. It's just when he needs to get out of the pocket, at least from the few practices we've been able to see, he looks like he's been able to move when he needs to.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is I'm surprised that we're at this point with Ohio State, and we're actually at the same point with Alabama too, where there are a couple guys and you don't know where they're going to go with this thing. And for teams that really have everything else they need to compete for a national title, it's a strange place to be, but especially Ohio State, like their wealth at receiver, that's the thing. And it shouldn't shock us anymore. Cause I mean, Mark Hartline seems like, is he the best position coach in America in terms of stocking his room?
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to interrupt you because I asked this question on Stars Matter yesterday, but I went and added it up. And I think he has gotten 13 or 14 top 100 players at his position in a 4 or 5 year period.
Yeah. And they just got a commitment from Mylan Graham, who's a 5-star receiver.
Yes. And then that's what prompted discussion. Has there been a single position coach in college football, any position, that has acquired that many top 100 players during that short of a time period? Like, I think statistically, he is the best recruiter of a in the history of the modern recruiting era.
Yeah, it's
just based on data.
But they hit too. Like you don't see these guys washing out. Like what you see is they get so deep that Jamison Williams has to go to Alabama. Like that's the most amazing part. It's not just that he gets them to come, is that they play really well when they get there too.
Yeah.
It's hard not to sell it now too, though. When you've had so much success and then you see the guys go into the NFL have so much success. I mean, what top receiver in the country really wouldn't want to go play in that system when you're playing behind NFL guys year after year after year?
Well, and especially like now it's this self-selecting sample of complete dogs. Like, because you're not even going to think about committing to Ohio State if you're scared of competition.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So you're the only people who will commit to you are dogs. Like that.
Yeah.
That's it's a great place to be in. But the thing is, the job of throwing those people the ball is open. There's 3 open offensive line spots. The 2 tackles, Paris Johnson's probably first round pick, DeJuan Jones, second, third round pick. They're also replacing the center. So, I mean, there is some fluctuation, but they're also, you had a story on Travion Henderson the other day, Cameron, and you almost forgot about him.
Yeah.
Like he was hurt most of the last season. They're deep at running back right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have 5 that could play. I think, Evan Pryor is the one that's been hurt since last year, so he's going to have to work himself back in the fall. But, I mean, between Travion, Mayan, Chip, Dallin, all 4 of them played really important snaps last year in really important games. I mean, Dallin Hayden was terrific against Indiana. I don't know if they beat Indiana if he doesn't play as well that game. So Tony Alford has some real decision to make there because they have 4 dynamite backs and then Evan Pryor they loved before he got hurt last year.
It's interesting, guys, that you have Georgia at the top of the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Alabama and Ohio State are in very interesting and similar positions, as you pointed out, of the teams right now who are equipped to potentially win a national championship and stop Georgia from its back-to-back run and turning that into a three-peat. Both of those programs don't have quarterbacks set yet,
Yeah.
And I just want to zero in on Ohio State, obviously, in this episode, but it's a very important year for Ryan Day in Ohio State, right? And it's like, you lose 2 years in a row to Michigan, you don't win the Big Ten for the last 3 years. Even though they were pretty close to potentially winning a national championship a year ago, it does seem like things are not trending in the direction that you would want them to trend if you're an Ohio State fan. And I just feel like it's a very critical juncture, as it was a year ago for Ryan Day, but here we are again. It's like, you better figure this out, get the right quarterback in place and win some games, because it's probably getting pretty uncomfortable in Columbus.
The benefit for him is that he has 2 draft picks at receiver and Marvin Harrison, Matt Kabuka. You have Cade Stover. You have 4 legitimate running backs. That's the benefit for Ryan Day. Like, can you just throw anybody back there, quarterback, and say go win games? No. But I think both Kyle McCord and Devin Brown will be good enough. I mean, he keeps saying this all spring, you don't have to be a superhero in this offense. Just don't turn the ball over and make the routine plays. So they have so much around him that's a definite benefit. But I agree, it's a huge year for Ryan.
But Andy, don't you feel like you have to be a superhero at a certain point? There's going to be a point in the season where you need to be one,
right?
Like CJ Stroud had to be a superhero in the Peach Bowl for them to even have a shot to win that game. Like, I feel like if you haven't.
Stetson Bennett never had to be a superhero in Georgia's offense.
Stetson Bennett made plays, man. I feel like everybody always says
he
that.
He did make
plays.
Man,
he's good. Yeah.
But he didn't have to do things like some of the things Bryce Young had to do last year. Was okay, because he just didn't have as much talent around him as they'd had. And I think given Marvin Harrison, if Caleb Williams was not playing in college football next year, Marvin Harrison would be the best player in college football. Most years, Marvin Harrison would be the best player in college football. And that goes a long way.